University of Miami, and talk about Francis Mauigoa, right tackle down there. Played there last season, played there in 2023 when he started. Only gave a 1 sack a year ago. I thought he's an earth mover in the run game, enormous size, 6'6", 315. I don't know if I mentioned that already. Thought he's insane athleticism for that size, plays with an edge. And I'll just stop there and ask you this. When you're watching tape, even before you interview a guy for the first time, can you get a sense of whether they got a chip on their shoulder or whether they're maybe you want to see a little more toughness in the way they play? Because when I watched Francis, I was like, okay, this guy probably eats nails before he goes out there and plays because he takes it out on defensive linemen. And I thought there was a lot to like in his game. And the follow-up, I guess, is any concerns that he's quote-unquote right tackle only?
So, yeah, you can definitely notice, these guys and their mentality and their toughness and their grit. To quote one of the great coaches in the NFL and one of the great coaching personalities, Dave McGinnis, this guy's a glass eater. Now, I just take that for what it's worth. Shout out to Coach Mack. But this guy does play with an edge and a chip, and you feel that. You like to watch offensive linemen who play to the echo of the whistle. Not to the whistle, but to the echo of the whistle. And those are the guys that you see finish. I think this is a thickly built, well-proportioned guy. I think he has natural brute strength and power, and you see it in the run game. Now, the tricky part in what he's asked to do at Miami, they're not asked to run off the ball a whole lot. Right. So you don't really get to see a ton of leg drive until he latches on or him coming off the ball that way. But he does have everything in his body to generate push and vertical push off the ball and move guys, like you called him, an earth mover. And then in the passing game, you cannot overwhelm this guy with power. Like, that's just not going to happen. And so for me, I think because of his body structure, and you've gotten to know me and know I look at these guys and I, base everything off their body structure and not necessarily their measurables. And I saw him at the pro day this past year, just walking around, and his body structure to me just read guard. I don't know that he is going to measure in at 6'6". I'll be interested to see. I think it'll be probably around that 6'4" and some change range. But this is a massive built dude, and I think his body structure, the width of his body structure says guard, and I think this guy could develop into a really good guard in our league.
I think that actually mirrors my comp for him because there's a lot of conversation about this young man moving inside the guard. He stayed at tackle. He played right tackle in college, stayed at tackle in the pros, and was successful as a rookie. Tell me what you think of this. And I think this young man probably weighs 10, 15, 20 pounds more. Tully Fuaga, who was the Saints' first-round draft pick, also had a glass-eating edge to him, it felt like. And the conversations were he's thick, maybe kick him inside, left him outside, it worked out. You okay with that comp? And if not, were you interested in moving Tully inside back a couple years ago, or you thought maybe he had a chance to be successful as a tackle?
Yeah, see, so this goes back to the body structure conversation. Because Fuaga, he was definitely, and I can say this now, he was definitely in the conversation for us at pick 11 when we in that first draft. Really liked him a lot as a tackle and saw him as a guy that would be a tackle in our league. Now, I felt like you can get by with him as your left tackle, but I thought he would be a really good starting right tackle. Now, he proved me wrong because he's been a really good left tackle for the Saints in his 1 year there. But I didn't see him as being a guard because, again, his body structure was taller, longer, more angular built than, say, Mauigoa.
Okay, so it sounds like you had Tully a little bit higher than Francis in terms of who were stacking them in the same draft class. And it's interesting to hear that you like Tully as a tackle, and because as you noted, he had a pretty good rookie season for the Saints, and now they have Kelvin Banks coming in there, so they're getting that offensive line together, at least on the edge.